How you doing? I'm Darren with Ash Kickin' Barbecue. If this is your first time to the channel, then welcome. If you've been here before, then welcome back. Today, I have something truly special for you. We're going to be talking competition style ribs. Now, I did this before. It was my very first video. It was absolutely awful, so I've been meaning to kind of do one of these. And it just so happens that this is also my entry for the BBQ Pitmasters of YouTube competition. Joe over at Smokin' Joe's Pit Barbecue is putting this on. It's awesome. There's 20 YouTubers in this competition. I'm really honored they asked me to do it, and I'm really looking forward to doing this. The first person I'm going up against in round one is CJ from Cooking with CJ. So he's going to be doing a rib video. I'm doing this video. You guys will watch them both, then go over to Joe's channel and vote, and whoever has the most votes is moving on to the next round. Before we jump into this, I just wanted to say thank you to our sponsors. We have Yoder Smokers, Dahlstrong, Suckle Busters, Midland Meat Company, Haley Home, Meter, and ThermoWorks. So a lot of those products I use now, so that's really exciting. And also, for you as the viewer, Yoder Smokers is giving away a YS640 pellet smoker to one of the viewers who votes throughout this competition. So be sure to follow the links down in the description and go and vote. You have a chance to win one of the best smokers made in America, and that's huge. That's awesome. So thank you to Joe for getting this put together. CJ, good luck, buddy. I'm gonna have a link for CJ's video down below. Enough chatting, let's just get into this. So for me, I'm a KCBS competition cook. I have my team, Ash Kickin' Barbecue. And what I like to do when I cook ribs is I like to buy full racks of spares. That way I can get big, thick racks and I can cut them down to what I use. So this is actually an 8.5 pound rack of spare ribs. And we're gonna pretty much whittle this down to what we're gonna cook in the competition. Now, there's gonna be people out there that say I'm wasting a lot of meat. I'm not wasting any of this. I'm going to cook it all. It's not getting thrown away. And I don't throw away anything that I trim for competitions. My briskets and pork butts I make into sausage, so it may look like there's a lot of waste, but I promise you I'm not wasting this food. I don't like to waste food, so this is strictly for competition purposes. So let's just jump in and I'll show you how I'm gonna trim this rack down. Okay guys, you can see we have our full rack of spares here. It's exactly what I like. I like to be able to trim them down into St. Louis cut myself. So again, this is an 8.5 pound rack. This is a big rack. This hog could not stay away from the feed, but hey, I'll take it. So the first thing I like to do is I like to flip them over, bone side up, and I'm just going to come in, and you have this kind of skirt meat right here. I just like to pull that up, and then we're just going to come in and we're going to just remove that. And we'll say, like I said, we'll save this and cook this up and use it for tacos or whatever. So now we kind of got that out of the way. Next thing I like to do is, you got this sternum bone right here. I just like to come in and we're just going to take that out because we're not going to cook that. So then we kind of come in, and I like to kind of find the longest bone here and just feel around, and it seems like it's this one right here. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to make an imaginary line with my knife and just kind of follow that down. And if you do this right, you're just cutting through cartilage. There should be no bone you're cutting through. So we're just going to go ahead and take this down, making it as straight as possible, because when it comes to competition barbecue, presentation is a factor. We'll set that off to the side. Now, at this point here, I like to come in, and this bone right here, there's not much to it. It's a little bit of junk there. So I typically will come in and just take that off, like so. And then I like to typically cook 9 bones. So I'll come in and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bones right there. And then we'll just come in and we'll come straight down. Take that out like that, and we'll set this off to the side. Again, we'll cook that for a little snack. That's all really nice, well marbled meat, so definitely not going to waste that. We'll flip it over, and you can kind of see we have what's getting close to being a rack of competition style ribs. So all we want to do here is kind of square things up, make them look nice, and you can spend as little or as long as you want doing that. I usually like to be pretty anal about these things because I feel like you can control your appearance scores generally, so why not spend a little extra time doing so, making sure you get a good appearance score. So we'll just come in and take off any sharp corners. And another thing you can do is get your rack out in front of you and just kind of push down and see if there's any meat that overhangs, and then just come in and take that off like that, just to straighten it out. So that's starting to look pretty good there. That's a nice looking rack here. Now we got some fat over here. I'm not overly concerned about that, but I am going to take a little bit off here because chances are my turn-in bones are going to come in here. When I do a competition, I usually cook 3 racks of ribs, and I'm hoping to get at least 2 bones out of each, but I'd really prefer to get 3. I generally like to do 4x4, so 4 down, 4 on top, 5 down, 5 on top if I can manage it, if I got really good ribs. But you need at least 6 pieces for KCBS barbecue. So obviously today we're just gonna go over how to cook these, but I'm gonna come in and I'm just gonna take a little bit of this off here just so we can get some nice color and some nice rub on. And I don't want them too fatty. I don't really so much care about this end, but kind of right here where my money is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and just clean those up a little bit. And this is all pretty soft fat, so it wouldn't hurt anything to leave it, but I think it's just worth it to take a little bit of extra time and get that out of there. Now you can see here on the opposite side, if we push down, we got the meat coming out here. We're just going to take and get that out of there like so. Got a little piece hanging on there. We'll take that off. Okay, now at this point, everything is looking pretty good. I like the way it's looking. I like the marbling we have here. I like the shape of the ribs. Now, obviously, you want to go ahead and remove your membrane because you don't want the judges to bite into this. You want them to have a nice clean bite. So some people will actually leave this on until after they're done cooking them and then remove it. I don't really like to play that game. I just like to have everything ready to go. So you can come in here with a butter knife, or you can use your hand, whatever you want to do. Get underneath the membrane and just kind of give it a pull and get it off of there. You can use a paper towel to help grip it if you want to do that. Sometimes you get it clean in one, sometimes it rips like it did here. So we'll just go ahead and get this off. You got to work at it. Okay, so now that we have our membrane off, there's a little bit of fat on these bones. You can come in and clean them off if you want. I don't think it's huge that you get it completely cleaned up because the way I cook these, a lot of this fat is going to render down. So it's not a huge deal to come in and get these all cleaned. But we'll go ahead and take off some of the harder fat here. It's nice if you just hold it up at an angle here, run your knife along the bone. You can get a lot of that out of there. I'm not too concerned about this. Like I said, it's going to cook down. It's going to render down the way we cook. And that is looking pretty good there. Now, you can see here from the butcher, it's a little mangled. That's all right. There's not much we can do about that. It should be all right when we cook them. But obviously, we will have to take that into consideration for turn-ins, and that's why we cook a few extra racks. I'm just going to come in and remove a little bit more of this meat that's hanging off the edge. Try and get these looking as nice as I possibly can. All right, and then so I like to just come in and I just like to score each of the bones here. And that just kind of helps with the pullback, so you get some nice even pullback. So I'll just come in with my knife and just give it a little score just to kind of loosen that up around them. You don't want to cut through them, obviously, but just a little scoring here to get them so they kind of break free a little easier. Now, at this point, we are going to season our ribs. And on the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and use Tailgater's Barbecue Party Rub. And I actually do use this rub in competition on all of my meats as a base layer. I think it adds a really nice savory pop. It's absolutely delicious. So we'll come in with that. And then on the bottom, we're going to come in with a little Texas pecan. Just a little bit. This has some sugar in it, so we definitely don't want the bottoms to burn. especially the way we're cooking these. It can happen, so you want to be careful with your sugar content on the bottom of your ribs. So we're going to let this soak in for about 10-15 minutes, and I'll bring you back then. Okay guys, so it's been about 10 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and we are going to get the top side seasoned here, and this is what you're looking for when you lift these up. You don't want any rub to fall off, so we know the rub is sticking nicely. And at this point I want to transfer to a cooking rack, and I will be cooking these ribs on that rack. I think it's really nice for transporting purposes, being able to rotate your meats when you're cooking them for even cooking. So I think that's a really nice feature here, is being able to cook on these racks, which I really enjoy. Now, at this point, we're going to go ahead and get our top side seasoned. We're going to come in with the Tailgaters Barbecue Party Rub. We're just going to give a light coat on top here. This is our savory rub, like I said before. So this is our base layer. Coming in with that. We're going to get our sides, our edges. Come in here up top. You can also get your edges by picking up the loose seasoning on the board afterwards if you so choose. All right, and that's looking pretty good there for our first layer. Now we're going to come in with our Sucklebusters Honey Barbecue Rub. Now this is going to add a sweet element, which I really enjoy and I think is important for competition barbecue. And this is going to kind of be our main rub here. So we're going to go ahead and not really bury it, but give it a nice healthy dose here. Kind of get everything coated up. Just kind of press it in. You don't want to rub it in, but just press it in. Make sure you have everything coated up evenly. You want a really nice presentation here. We'll go ahead and get our edges again. Okay, so we have our edges here. Just give that a press in. And then the last rub that we're going to come in with is our Sucklebusters Texas Pecan Barbecue Rub. And this has a little bit of heat to it, but not too much. But this is going to give us a really, really, really great color. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And we're just going to go with an even medium coating on this. This is strictly to give us some good color. They also have a competition rub that gives a really great color. But I kind of wanted to test this out. And again, I do use the honey barbecue rub in competition. So you're kind of seeing a little bit of what I'm doing here. Now, the pecan is something new I'm trying, so you guys kind of get to be my guinea pigs here. Go ahead and get our edges. We're just going to give that a little press. Get our edges here. And I'm going to wait to get my edges on this side because I don't want to lift this up and have any of the rub come off. So at this point, we're going to go and get the smoker fired up, and we're just going to let these sit here and sweat. And once they look like they're wet on top, that's when we're going to get them out on the smoker. So I'll bring you guys back at that point. Okay guys, it's been about 20 minutes. You can see here the ribs are starting to sweat. They have a great color already. I went ahead and seasoned my edges already off camera. But yeah, these are looking phenomenal. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and get the smoker fired up, and I will bring you back at that time. Now, I struggled with which smoker I should be using to cook these on. I am going to be cooking on the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600, strictly because I think a lot of people who are looking to get into competition barbecue are on pellet grills, and actually in KCBS, pellet grills are completely legal and you're allowed to use them, and people have done really well with them. You can take a look at David Bauska at Butcher Barbecue and Pellet Envy and many others. So I'm going to be cooking these on my pellet grill today. Now, I almost thought about cooking them on my Gateway drums because that is what I actually use to cook my ribs on at competition, is Gateway drums. But I'm going to have a series coming on competition barbecue for beginners. So I think we're going to kind of do pellet grills and drums and kind of cover all our bases on that. And we're going to go really in depth in how to cook competition barbecue for beginners. So today, just to keep it easy, keep it simple, we're just gonna rock the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600. We're gonna be cooking hot and fast. We're gonna be cooking at 300 degrees. Now, hot and fast on a pellet grill is gonna be way different than hot and fast on a Gateway drum smoker. So I'm just gonna kind of show you that process. One thing I did wanna mention is with these ribs here, I did kind of just squeeze them up and shape them because how these go on that cooker is how they're going to cook. So you can see here that I kind of bunched them up so they look nice and thick and they're relatively uniform. So I'm gonna get the smoker fired up and I will meet you guys outside. Okay guys, we're outside. We have the Pit Boss Pro Series 1600 running at 300 degrees. Give you a look at these ribs here. They look absolutely awesome. Nice color already. Now this is the side that we cut on right there. We are going to actually face the bone side towards the fire pot. That way we get even pullback along here. So we're going to go ahead and get these in. And like I said here, pull back side towards the fire pot. We have a smoke tube running just for a little bit of supplemental smoke, running at 300 degrees. However, we're using cooking pellets today, and they actually smoke really well even at 300 degrees. So this may not be necessary in the future using these pellets, but we're gonna run it today just to make sure we get a nice smoke ring and nice smoke flavor on these. So again, pull back side towards the fire pot just so we get some even pullback. I'm gonna close this down and we're gonna let this go for 1 hour, and then we'll come out and check for color, see if they're looking dry. If they are, maybe we'll give them a spritz, but we're gonna close this down for 1 hour, so I will see you then. Okay guys, it has been 1 hour. You can see our ribs are looking absolutely fantastic. We got some really nice color on there. Now, the rub hasn't quite set. It's still coming off a little bit there, you can see. So we're just gonna let this go for another hour. Maybe in a half hour, we'll come out and check it again and spritz if it needs it. But right now, it's looking really good. There's no need to spritz. You can see we're starting to get a little pullback there. So we're just gonna let this go for another hour, and I will bring you back. See you then. Okay guys, so it has been 45 minutes. These ribs have been on for 1 hour and 45 minutes, and you can see they're looking absolutely awesome. We have some fantastic color here, and if we do the scratch test, we don't have any rub coming off, so our rub is set. So at this point, we're gonna go inside and get them wrapped up, and I will show you how to do that. The main thing to keep in mind here when cooking these ribs is you wanna wrap at color. It doesn't matter how long it takes, if it takes an hour and 40 minutes or 2 hours. You just want to wrap when your color's good and your rub is set. Now, how your timeline goes depends on how hot you're cooking, etc. So you're going to have to fine tune that for competition. But I know for me, cooking at 300 degrees, that about an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours is typically where I'm going to be wrapping. So I'm going to get these inside and show you how we're going to wrap. We'll see you then. Okay guys, you can see we have our ribs here. They're looking really good. Look at all that moisture coming out of them. They're nice and juicy. Now at this point, what I like to do is kind of flip them over, and I'll show you here is I'm just gonna go ahead and pull off any of this junk coming out of the bones. We don't want that for presentation purposes. So we'll go ahead and set that off to the side. And I'm just gonna come in and I'm just gonna get a reading here with my thermopen. And we're at about dead center. We're probably about 182 degrees, if you can see that. So in my mind, I'm gonna throw these on, and then once we get them wrapped, and then I'm gonna check them after about a half hour, because I just kind of want to see where they're at. But right now they're at about 180. I can tell you it's probably gonna be close to an hour, but we're just gonna monitor them closely because we don't want to overcook them for competition. So at this point, what I like to do is I like to come in between each bone and just kind of break that skin loose. So we're getting some even pullback all the way across. You can kind of see here, we got some more pullback on this side than on this side. Reason for that is just kind of the heat flow and everything. So we'll just go ahead and break those free so we can get some even pullback. And if you're not careful here, these are very hot, so maybe wear some liners underneath your gloves if you're not used to it. Go ahead and break that through. And now you can see here, we got some nice pullback on these bones now. That's going to be really great for presentation wise, and that's optional. You don't have to do it. Pullback isn't, you know, a factor in competition barbecue, but I like to kind of be consistent with everything. So at this point, I'm just going to lay down some butter, and I'm using Kerrygold salted butter here. I don't think salted or unsalted makes a huge difference, so I just go ahead and run with the salted. And then I also want to add some brown sugar, and you can use light or dark, it's up to you. This is dark. I'm just gonna run dark today because it's what I have on hand. So give that kind of a nice healthy dose there. And what the butter's gonna do is the butter's gonna help keep these sugars from burning, being that we are cooking at a higher temp, and it's just gonna impart some more flavor and richness into these ribs. So then what I wanna do is come in with some honey barbecue sauce from Suckle Busters. Now a lot of people just use honey in their wrap, and that's fine. I like to use this barbecue sauce because it actually helps with the color. It gives it a really nice color when you take it out of the wrap. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna add some sauce to it, And again, there's honey and sugar in this sauce, so that butter is going to help keep that from burning. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my ribs, and I'm going to put them meat side down on top of all that goodness. And you'll see some guys, they'll come in and they'll repeat the same process on this back side. I typically don't do that. If I'm going to add any other flavors to this backside here, it's going to be with my finishing rub or with my sauce, stuff like that. I don't really like to mess around with this side too terribly much. So now we're just going to go ahead and get these wrapped up. And to do that, I like to have 2 sheets of aluminum foil here, and I like to try and bring it over that bone, or over the bones there. And then I'll come through on the other side and come up, so we actually have 4 layers of protection, so we're not going to get any puncturing through that bone. And then I'll just kind of find the end and make a nice crease here like that. Get all the air out so it's nice and tight. And we're going to get these back on the smoker. We're going to put them back on the rack, and we're going to have the bones facing the fire pot again, and we're going to cook them meat side down. So I'll meet you guys outside. Okay guys, you can see we have our ribs on the smoker here. We're still running at 300 degrees. I'm going to set a timer for 30 minutes, and then we will come out and check them for tenderness, kind of take a probe reading, see where they're at. We're not cooking to temperature on these, we're cooking to tenderness. That probe reading was just to give you an idea of where these ribs are sitting. So set a timer for 30 minutes, we'll come out and check them and see how they're looking. We'll see you guys then. Okay guys, it has been 30 minutes. We're going to go ahead and check the tenderness on these ribs. Go ahead and get in here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and open these up. May get a little juice that spills out, that's all right. Go ahead and see here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to come in, and you know, they're at about 185, 183. There's about 189. So about 185 dead center is kind of where we're at still. So kind of hit a brief little stall there, but you can tell here it's tight. When we come in, you can see it lifting up. So, okay, and another way you can tell is by picking them up. You see they still got some spring to them. They're not tender yet. We're probably going to lose this bone right here, but that's all right. We wouldn't turn in that one anyways, so no big deal. But we're going to go ahead and get these wrapped up, and then we'll come out and check them again in a half hour. Okay, guys, it's been another 30 minutes. We're going to go ahead and check for tenderness now, see how they're looking. And I mean, I can tell just by picking these up that they're tender. You can see we have some blowout on the bones. I mean, those are looking good. They're nice and tender. We'll go ahead and just double check with our pen here. Come in, and we're about 205, but more importantly, it's probing like butter. So that's looking really good. It's feeling really good. Now at this point, I'm going to set these off to the side here, and I am just going to flip those over, pull those out, and you can see we did in fact lose that end bone. Not a big deal. Don't really care about that. I'm not going to turn that in anyways, so no big deal. Now you can kind of see here we have a little bit of washout where the fat is. So all we're going to do to alleviate that is we are just going to get some of our rub, and we're just going to kind of hit it in some spots that need it. And that's looking good like that. And you can see we have great pullback on these bones here. We got a little bit of hanger on there, so we're going to get that out of there. But look at that. Looks fantastic. Great pullback all across. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get these back on the smoker just for a few minutes, just to get them to dry out and bring that color back. So I'm going to give them probably 3-4 minutes, and then we'll check back in. So we will see you guys then. Okay guys, it's been a few minutes. You can see here that we got our color back on these ribs. They're looking absolutely fantastic, starting to dry out a little bit. So at this point, we're just going to go ahead and get them sauced. We're going to be using that honey barbecue sauce, and it's not going to take much. You don't want a lot. You don't want a super saucy rib. You just want enough for a nice light glaze on there. So we're going to start off with that. And I do advise preheating your sauce. I've had this sitting out for a little bit, but if you warm it up a little bit, it's going to go ahead and alleviate your brush strokes here. So go ahead and just give your rack a nice coating of sauce here. Make sure maybe paint up those bones a little bit, and I think we're just going to grab a little bit more sauce on here. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and glaze up these bones. Just get all of this nice and glazed up. And as it heats up, that sauce should go ahead and alleviate those brush strokes on there. So that is looking pretty fantastic there. You can see we have a nice glaze on there. Now we're going to go ahead and set this for about 5 minutes, still at 300 degrees. We'll come out and check it. We just don't want these getting too dark on us. So go ahead and get these back on. Okay guys, it has been 5 minutes. You can go ahead and see that our sauce is set. It looks absolutely wonderful. We have a beautiful glaze on there, no brush marks, nothing. So I'm gonna get these inside and let them rest for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, and then we'll slice into them and see how we did. So we will see you guys inside. Okay guys, you can see we have our ribs here. They look fantastic. They smell wonderful. There's juice coming out of them. You can see they're tender as can be here. So I'm going to flip these over and we are going to get to slicing them. Now some people will slice these and then sauce them, and truthfully I typically do that, but we're going to do it this way today. What you can do is, so you don't mess up your sauce, go ahead and lay some sauce on this board here, and this is just a disposable cutting board. Go ahead and lay some sauce on there, and then that way it won't mess up your sauce. I'm not too worried about it today. It looks like the sauce is set up pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and just flip these over. And you can see here, we can definitely see the bones. We actually lost one right here, so that's fine. So we'll just come in and cut through that. And looks good, has a nice smoke ring. Let's go ahead and get the rest of these cut up, and these bones are actually fairly straight. So what you want to do is just come in and keep your cuts as straight as you can. And helps to have a good sharp knife here, and just do long, smooth strokes, and just try and keep them as straight as you can. If you can't, that's all right, but do your best. We want to make sure we're completely through here. And right here, they're starting to turn a little bit, so we're just going to do our best to keep them straight. Okay, and we'll grab one of these thick ones here, and look at that. Look at that. Juicy, wonderful smoke ring, but look at that moisture in there. That is a juicy rib right there. I mean, that looks absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to try this. So we'll just kind of go ahead and get these all spun around, facing the same direction. See, we lost that bone too. These may have been taken a little bit too far over in some spots, but where I'm looking to turn in, you know, these two look really good. Even these, I'd consider putting these on the bottom, but looks really good. So I wouldn't really be turning that in. Maybe this one, but these four, probably two for sure here, look good. And I'd hope to get, you know, 2 to 3 more out of my other racks that I'm cooking. But overall, they're looking pretty good here. So let's go ahead and give these a little taste test. All right, so what I would typically do is I would take one of the end pieces I know I'm not turning in, and I would go ahead and just give it a try and see how my flavor profile is here. Nice clean bite off the bone. Really good flavor. It's got sweet, it's got a little heat. And now this is the point where I would think to myself, is there too much sweet? Is there too much heat? What do I have to do to accommodate for that? And that's where your finishing dust comes into play. Does it need a little more sauce? Stuff like that. So let's go ahead and try the other side. Very well balanced, which depending on your region, you know, you're gonna have to adjust your flavor profile. This isn't meant to be a tell-all competition recipe, because, you know, barbecue is subjective, judging is subjective. Some people down south might want a little more heat. Come up north, you know, they think ketchup is spicy. So you got to kind of play with your flavor profiles and figure out what works well for you in your region. But my best advice is stay middle of the road. Don't get too salty, too sweet, too much spice. You know, find a nice balanced rib. I mean, barbecue is all about balance. You don't want anything that's going to knock your socks off one way or another when it comes to competition. Do whatever you want at home, however you enjoy it, but when it comes to competition barbecue, these are things you have to keep in mind. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been a lot of fun. Be sure you go and check out CJ's video down below, and also be sure to go and vote for which one you liked better over on Smokin' Joe's channel, link down below. I have a link for everything I use down below. And guys, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell, stay safe, and we will see you next time.